Sonny of GSR Ventures, and GSR has just raised a new fund of $350 million and is managing $700 million altogether. Is that right?
1 billion.
1 billion. Okay. Did you send the presentation?
Yes. Good afternoon. Sonny Wu. I'm from Beijing. It's my second day in Israel. Second trip. The last one was in 1999. I've been very fortunate to be here the last couple of days. Very exciting. I visited probably 5 companies yesterday, another 4 today. Taking a vacation tomorrow in Jerusalem. But I am very happy to be here because I think 5 years ago when we started GSR Ventures, we had a hypothesis that we can build world-class technology companies in China. And within that regard, I think we have a lot to learn from all of you here in Israel. A lot of respect for their entrepreneurialism, the technology, and the success we've seen in Israel. Also, I think China is interesting in many regards. It's probably the only market, Sonny talk about big markets. China is probably the only market outside the U.S. In technology that's large and homogeneous. And that was our assumption 5 years ago when we started GSR. By the way, GSR stands for Golden Sand River. If some of you have been to the Shangri-La or Lijiang in Yunnan province, it's the early stage of the Yangtze River, and that's why the name. I think we have been very, very fortunate, very lucky. We raised 5 funds in the last 6 years. We just raised GSR 4, $350 million last week. The first fund, it took us 2 years to raise $75 million. Yeah. So we have came a long way. When we started in 2005, many of our partners were skeptical, particularly ones in the U.S. They don't believe in the China market. They don't believe there's technology companies in China. The worst of all is my peers in China don't believe in either. But I'm happy to tell you that, I think the fundraising is just luck and coincidence, and that the market forces help us. But the most important is we've been able to build a series of great companies. We have invested, as of today, 55 companies in the last 5.5 years. Many of them were started from a piece of paper, a bunch of guys or girls with a great idea, like all of you here. And we have invested across multiple segments in wireless, internet, new energy, semiconductors, and automobile. And 99% of the companies were pre-product. All of them are pre-revenue. Happy to tell you that of the 55 companies, of course, many of them still are no revenue. But of the ones that have revenue, as of end of Q2, more than $1.5 billion US sales. And that's, again, this is the market force of a homogeneous market. That's the unique angle of China market. And I think many of you may have seen the Israeli company have done very well in the U.S. in the 80s and 90s. I think I'm here because I think I also have a hypothesis that we can work together by bringing some of the technology either here or there. We really have a global angle. When we invest, we look at the technology and understand the upside and the risk on the global level. And we have that's perhaps this is the time to talk about him. We started with four of my four partners. James Ding was the first founder and CEO of Asia Info. The first company went public in NASDAQ in year 2000 from China. He built the internet in China. Richard, my co-founder of the fund, he and I met in MIT the year 2000. We got together in 2004 and started in 2005. He's a serial entrepreneur, started with Stanford and then in Boston and Singaporean, but unlike many of the Singaporean, he's very entrepreneur. He's more like Israeli. Alex is my colleague at Nortel for 15 years. We've been together since early 90s. And myself, I grew up in China, went back to China early. I guess because I believe that we can build great technology companies in China. And in '93, there was not a lot of technology companies to talk about in China. But today, as you know, Huawei is a $35 billion global revenue company dominating the telecom world. I spent most of my early phase in telecom, in semiconductor. And as a result, I focused most of our investments in clean tech. I have made most of the investments in the first 4 years was in LEDs. Don't have the picture to show you, but I think we can claim that we have probably one of the best portfolios in solid-state lighting. We have 8 companies from EPIs using gallium nitride on silicon. We're the only company in the world that can manufacture that in a repeatable, cost-effective manner. We're able to make a 9-watt LED light bulb replacing 60-watt incandescent at the cost of less than $6. And as you know, our competitors, Philips and GE, are selling them at €30 to $40. The cost is about $15. So our goal is to make that at $5, sell them at $5. We're entering the market today at $10 a piece, which is 1/3 of the market price. We're able to do that because we have the whole value chain in China, from EPI to packaging to AC/DC converters and the system, including heatsink and everything, and manufacturing scale. And that's just an illustration of the type of thing we can do in China, because there's original innovation in fundamental research and science. So if I can get back to the... this is a sub-list. You can see it in the website, but this is a short list of the 40 companies in the last year. Lasso.com is a Groupon of China, growing faster than Groupon. I cannot comment too much because it's filing for confidential filing for the U.S. listing, but we invested in the company only last April. We have done 3 rounds of financing. The last round was value north of $1 billion, because it's growing faster than Groupon. And again, back to the market force, back to the homogeneity of the market and the purity of the business model. We have a company like Alice, which is based in Taiwan, is probably the top 3 supplier of lithium iron phosphate materials for A1-3 leasing. We have 3 companies in the electric vehicle space, and of course there are a lot of innovation here in Israel with better place and software in BMS. I believe China will be the first market in the world in adopting in a mass adoption of electric vehicles. I'm here with the mayor of Beijing, visiting Tel Aviv today and then Jerusalem tomorrow. Beijing is subsidizing each EV car with $10,000 subsidy, and the central government is subsidizing another $10,000. So I believe through the combination of economic leverage, policy, and just purely economics, I think there will be a lot of innovations happening in the EV market. So we are making multiple bets in that space. We have a company with its CEO, which we invested with Khosla Ventures in the U.S., spun out of Lawrence Livermore Lab, is working on next generation solid polymer electrolytes for lithium battery. And if there's additional alternative, we would love to make further investments. We are also big on solar. We have made a investment in Sierra Solar in now most of our investments in China, but we have actually started making 7 investments in the last year in Silicon Valley. So we believe that by leveraging the disruptive technology, the China cost structure in the China market, we can build global companies. So Sierra Solar is in the process of moving back to China. They are one of the 3 companies, as far as I know, that have a thin films, crystalline silicon thin film battery module that can achieve conversion efficiency at 20%, at very competitive cost structure at about 70 cents a watt. So Sierra is a example of the area that deals with looking at solar. I think I have a physics background. I personally don't think the current generation of technology is good enough for grid parity, and I think there's a lot of innovation need to be happening in maybe polymer materials, maybe in condensate dots, what have you, to at least have an order of magnitude improvement in the conversion efficiency as well as the manufacturability to achieve grid parity. The current market is still policy driven, benefiting from the policy of Germany and the rest of the EU countries. But China is a big market. I think our goal is to get to grid parity solar generation. And of course, at the same time, solar state lighting, which I believe is, every watt we save goes to the bottom line. We're big in wireless. NetChin was a company that went IPO in one of the first IPO from our portfolio at the NASDAQ. It's the world's first wireless, antivirus software company. Came out of China. So that's an indication of a innovation that's happening in China that's going globally. Whereas in the past where you have Baidu or so on and so forth, they're basically borrowing or copying US models. NetChin is a pioneering of a model where, because of the network effect and the market opportunities in China, you have innovations happening in China and they're adopting in Japan, adopting in Russia and the EU. I believe we will see many innovations in the wireless space coming out of China. We have a company called Huawei, which I invested 5 years ago. Still the only investor, but today is the only company in the world that can embed the RFID into a SIM card that enables mobile payment. And we talk about mobile health and mobile applications, which the payment aspect is equally as important to close that loop in the transaction. So they are able to enable signal come out at 13.56 megahertz, which is the standard for POS machines throughout the world. So they're the one that can get that rare, innovative and simple technology that enables the RFID on the SIM card, and it's competing with NFC as a technology platform. I will end on that, and I will share more of my thoughts after spending, I guess, 36 hours here, after 12 years since the last time I was here. I think there's tremendous opportunities between China and Israel. A lot of ideas, a lot of energy I see in the city here. Similarly in China, different type of energy, different type of opportunity. We have been fortunate. I think in the last few years the velocity of money has been very fast in China. A lot of capital, both inside and also a lot of capital going in from the outside. I think there are a lot of synergies. I think where GSR can play a very strong role is enabling the commercialization, enabling the go-to-market, enabling the scaling of those technology plays in China. We have now, as I mentioned, 4 funds, $1 billion under management, all focused on early stage, so we can invest in companies that really literally just have a piece of paper with a great idea, but hopefully huge markets and great entrepreneurs like Sonny and others. I think already that I was sharing with my classmate from Sloan now 10 years ago. That's already, and many of you may not know, already tremendous amount of activities between Beijing, Shanghai, and Tel Aviv, and Shenzhen. As you may know, Huawei is having the team coming here next week, scouting at opportunities. I'm sure there are many of your colleagues up here are in Beijing and Shanghai today, looking at opportunities. So I hope to be able to be a bridge to, at the end of the day, it's build a great global company. Thank you.
Outside of China?
A lot of opportunity, a lot of cases. The question from the gentleman is, do I know cases of Chinese company buying technology companies outside China? Yeah. Yes. The question is yes. There's also been, the high-profile ones are the ones who were blocked by the U.S. Administration. Huawei being example. But I think there are a lot of private companies who are doing in a very smart way. I know of a company doing MRI machines in China who are buying technology from the University of Birmingham. The buying can be in many ways. It could be a licensing, it could be a joint venture, it could be just recruiting of engineers. Lenovo buying IBM. Well, let me tell you about, that's a very good question. The IPO market in China, in the tech market, I don't care about the consumers. We actually have been, since we started, we have been tabulating the data since 2004. Every year, the China company's share of the IPO in U.S. first has been increasing. And we have a chart for our LPs. The aggregate IPO value of the China company in the last 5 years is $75 billion, which is more than Google. And in China, last year there were 300 companies IPO. 300 companies. 250 in the GEM board. No, there will be, these are domestic companies listing in the venture board. There will be an international board, which is in discussion right now, will be opening either later this year or early next year, depending on macro pictures. So I think someday I can see a U.S. technology company or Israeli company listing in Shanghai.
Regarding GSR Ventures, do you have like a local office, or how does one contact you? Do you have like some VC you cooperate with here in Israel, or you co-invest with that VC? And you did comment that you invest in early ages, but can you perhaps elaborate a bit regarding your common or typical early investment? Like, what's a good typical investment you consider? So that's like one giant question. And the other question, because someone here asked about it, it's been said that VCs throughout the world are investing less and less money in the past years. Is that the same with VCs in China?
Good question. So I'll give you an example of what we do. 2008, I invested $5 million into a MIT team. Junfeng Wang was a PhD from WE. He got his PhD in WE 2 years, probably the record at MIT. Then spent 3 years at Broadcom, 3 years at Anthropic. The founder of Anthropic is also Israeli. Came back to see me at Christmas of 2006. I spent a year and a half getting to know him and his team. His team was 3 people, piece of paper. He wanted to build the world's first HD video wireless transmission from an iPhone to a TV. He did that last year with just $5 million from us, with a piece of paper. And you know, in more detail, he used OFDM and ultra-wideband to do that. You know, there are many companies here, Amin Mon, Cybeam, that try to do that but fail. And you know, that's a classic example of early stage, how early we do it. I mean, but we go through his algorithm, understand his approach, and do the right DD, and he exceeded our expectation. A year and a half, $5 million, he able to do what the U.S. companies spend $50-60 million cannot do. So I guess the other comment is the characteristics of the China tech company is very capital efficient. Time, you know, dollar to IPO, whether it's an internet company, wireless company, or even a semiconductor company, is less than $30 million. In fact, many less than $20 million. Therefore, the founders in China, when they go IPO, tend to have 30 to 40% ownership. Compared to U.S. founders, you know, they will probably have single digits when they go to IPO.